and containers go in your mixed recycling bin. Food scraps and garden clippings go in your food and garden organics bin. You can use paper towels to wrap your food waste. Put your glass bottles and jars, food scraps and mixed recycling in the bin loose, not in bags. Plastic bags and other items that can't be reused or recycled go in your general rubbish bin. This includes kitty litter, animal droppings, old textiles and nappies. General rubbish should be bagged or wrapped. Update your recycling knowledge today. Learn what goes in each bin by visiting merri-bek.vic.gov.au/recycling-guide.
Why did we decide to go all electric? The primary motivation was obviously to reduce our carbon footprint as a family, especially with a young son, 8-year-old, who's attending primary school and learning all about climate change and how we can do our bit in reducing the impact. Since purchasing this house, we've installed solar panels, and we've also converted all our appliances cooktop into induction cooktop. Removing the gas cooktop, we've installed the split systems and also the hot water heat pump. At the moment, we export most of our electricity that we produce on a sunny day, which is not a bad thing because we do get paid for that exporting the electricity. What I would recommend others thinking of going on this journey of making their home all electric is to do it. But you can take it one step at a time, there's no rush, and there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of government rebates that you can access as well. There's Merri-bek City Council website, there's Renew, there's also My Efficient Electric Home Facebook page where you can consult and talk to people that are on this journey.
The compost that we receive from Merri-bek Council that's made from the waste from our green bins, the food and organics waste, is a fantastic resource. A lot of carbon, a lot of organic matter that goes to building up the soil here, combined with the compost that we make ourselves. You know, a really brilliant resource for the garden, and it produces fantastic crops, as you can see behind me.
Well, obviously it's really important to compost food. If it's just going into the normal bin, then it's creating all these really bad greenhouse gases and contributing to climate change. But the benefit for community gardens is that we can't generate as much compost on our own, so we need the addition of council compost to help us grow vegetables and renew the soil so we get the best productivity from the garden.
Sometimes when we get the compost, there's contaminants in it, like plastics, biodegradable bags. Some of them are not quite suitable for the process that the compost goes through. We have to then sort through the compost and pull them out, otherwise they're going to contaminate all our vegetables and the earth that we're trying to re-nourish with the compost.
Messages go around on Facebook saying, hey, there's zucchini or cucumbers in the basket at Pentridge, and they're gone in, you know, half an hour later. So we just like to share it with the community because that's what it's about.
Well, I'm Penny and I am very passionate about inclusion. I'm also a mum of 2 beautiful girls, and my connection to disability is that I have retinitis pigmentosa, which is a vision impairment where I have about 7% central vision. So with my disability, because I have such a small amount of central vision, I'm actually not allowed to drive, which does make it a bit more challenging. It means that, you know, to get around it takes a lot of organisation, especially with little kids, so lots of public transport, lots of walking, and you know, for the most part it's fine. It makes us a super organised family. I'd like people to know that You know, I'm a person too, and that although I have disability and you may not be able to notice when you first meet me, there are some challenges that I do face, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to be involved just like everybody else in the community. You know, my disability doesn't make me who I am. I am me, and I have a disability as well. I love playing sport. I live to play sport. Sport's always been a big part of my life, and I was diagnosed at the age of 16. You know, despite having that diagnosis at 16, you know, it didn't change my love of sport. And I was really lucky in that I've always had such supportive community around me that it hasn't been too much trouble to make adaptations for me to play. So some of the things that help me is having a flexible workplace. So I work between Merri-bek Council and with Get Skilled Access. It wasn't really until I jumped on board and started working at Get Skilled Access that I think I truly accepted my disability. It took me a long time to be okay with sharing that with people. I didn't share it with a lot of workplaces because I wasn't sure how that was going to be perceived. So when I had my interview with them, I remember one of the first questions they asked was, you know, how can we help you in this role? If you're to be successful, what are the things that you need? And that was the first time I experienced an employer asking me what I needed to participate in the role. That was a game changer. They make sure that inclusion is just how things are done. And so I've always felt included. But not only that, I work with so many amazing people that have different disabilities. And you know, it's really been an eye-opener as to how to be more inclusive as a person and how to teach others to be more inclusive as well. It's built my confidence around being who I am and being okay, you know, with having disability, and understanding that I actually can play a role in helping the community know more about disability so that there's more understanding around how to be inclusive out there.
I had insulation put up on the top of the roof. It was a good thing to do. When I read the ad in your local paper, and it said, you know, it does help, and the lady was very happy. And I said, if she's happy, I think I will be happy too. And yeah, I think it's the best thing that I came up with. The difference that it's made, it's comfortable, especially in summer. I hate summer. Yeah, winter I can put a jacket on, but summer it's terrible for me. So this, you know, keeps everything down, nice and clean, comfortable for the summer. I have to go through the winter, but I think it will be just as good. Yeah, just have it done. The people who actually looked after the job and done the job, it was the best people that I come across. I felt very comfortable. I felt like if I was with my brothers. Yeah, so have no fear. They're great people.
My name's Joe. Every morning I clean Sydney Road.
The gallery, and to our visitors live streaming tonight's council meeting at home. My name's Councillor Helen Davidson. I'm the Mayor of Merri-bek City Council and the chairperson of tonight's meeting. It's my pleasure to welcome you all here this evening. We're meeting on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present, as well as to all other elders of other communities who have significantly contributed to our city. This council meeting is being recorded and web streamed live to council's website and Facebook. This recording will also be available as video on demand. Attendees are advised they will be recorded during the meeting. A reminder that as councillors, we'll act in accordance with the Councillor Code of Conduct, which will support the principles of leadership and good governance that secures public confidence in the office of councillor. And in the event of an emergency or disruption, we may be required to take action to ensure the safety of attendees. So for members of the gallery attending in person tonight, please follow the directions by council staff and security officers. Now I'll move to introduce the councillors in attendance tonight. We have Councillor Bolton, Councillor Liz Irvin.
Hi everyone.
Councillor Jay Iwasaki.
Hello.
Councillor Chris Miles. Councillor Adam Pulford.
Hi everyone.
Councillor Alice Benson. Hello. Councillor Kat Theodosis.
Evening everyone.
And Councillor Oscar Yildiz.
Good evening.
And we have an approved leave to attend the meeting online, and we have Councillor Natalie Abood online. Nat, we might need to check your audio. We're struggling to hear you at the moment. We'll work on that and we'll come back to you shortly. I also would like to introduce Kathy Henderson, the Chief Executive Officer and the Senior Management Team. And we have one apology this evening from Councillor Politis, and she is seeking a leave of absence for this evening's council meeting. So councillors, could I have a mover to move Councillor Politis's leave of absence? Councillor Chris Miles, seconded by Councillor Yildiz. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Now, I'll just double check that Councillor Abood's audio is working. We also have, we'll keep working on that. We also have Councillor Bolton, who has requested a leave of absence for the period of the 10th of April to the 4th of May inclusive. Councillors, could I please have a motion to move Councillor Bolton's leave of absence? No, that's not necessary. No, that's fine. Councillor Svensson to move and Councillor Irvin to second. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Councillor Abood? No. Maybe try without the headset if that's possible.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yep, that's much better.
Okay, good. Well, there's no one in this room, so that'll work well. Hello, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. We're now up to disclosures of interest and conflicts of interest. So, councillors, are there any conflicts of interest to declare? Councillor Bolton, could you please state what the conflict of interest relates to? And immediately before we consider the item, to provide the details of it, and I will then ask you to leave the meeting room.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll read out the wording because it's very formalistic. Mayor, I wish to disclose that I have a general conflict of interest in report 7.13 Governance Report, April 2025, cyclical report, and in particular the item relating to the councillor candidature at state or federal elections policy due to being a candidate in the federal election.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Are there any further conflicts of interest to disclose? Councillor Abood.
Yes, I just need to declare a conflict of interest with 7.4, the McDonald Reserve feasibility study. Until recently, I was the school council president, so I think it's still fair that I declare the conflict.
Thank you, Councillor Abood. When we come to this item, I'll arrange for your streaming to be turned off and then we'll reopen it.
Thank you.
Councillors, we'll move on to the confirmation of minutes from our previous meeting held on the 12th of March. Do I have a mover to move those minutes? Councillor Iwasaki, and a seconder? Councillor Theodosis. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Now we'll move on to acknowledgements and other matters. So provision of up to 10 minutes is provided for councillors to acknowledge and recognise achievements of local individuals and organisations and raise matters considered important to council that aren't listed on the agenda tonight. Councillors, are there any acknowledgements or other matters you'd like to raise? Councillor Miles.
I'd like to talk about something really good. I met last night with members of the Moreland Eagle Soccer Club. And as I was talking to them, I was actually really happy to hear that for any girl or woman who plays for their team, they don't charge them anything. So the club basically puts aside $10,000 a year to help encourage women to play sport. And I think that's a great achievement for that club. There's only 3 people there who work at that club on the committee, so it's really good to see a club putting women's sports to the forefront of what they're trying to do, because their club is actually, the women's team is actually in the 3rd highest division of football in Victoria, so they're doing a great job.
Great, thanks very much for that, Councillor Miles. Are there any, Councillor Iwasaki?
Yeah, I would like to acknowledge, during a conversation I've had with one of our residents, Nicole Bazzano, I would like to acknowledge her grandfather who's passed, Sotirios Mihalakos, who helped establish the sister city relationship with the city of Sparta, as well as everyone else who was involved with that, and has brought about one of the best places in my ward, Sparta Place. So just
Great.
Thank you.
That's important. Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki. Any other councillors? Councillor Bolton.
I wanted to mention, for anyone who's watching and is interested, there's going to be a Ballot Merri-bek open day on the last Saturday of May. I think that's the 25th by memory. Sunday the 25th of May. So this is a site on Hilton Street. It was a site of, the old Glenroy Tech School, then it was the Ballot Merri-bek College, and it is a site where there's a hope to build a Ballot Merri-bek First Nations Cultural Centre where the whole community would be invited in, and there is a desire for land back to the Wurundjeri. So that's on Hilton Street on Sunday the 25th of May. And just secondly, I just thought I'd mention for people who don't know, there's consultation happening in Fawkner at the moment around a dog park at the end of Duke's Road beside the creek and beside the kangaroo grass. That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Are there any other councillors? Councillor Theodosis.
I last week went for a tour of Sussex Neighbourhood House in my ward, just in Pascoe Vale, and got to have a little bit of a tour. And they do really incredible work. They have various cooking classes, workshops with the elderly, teaching them how to use iPads and computers, and also do English as a second language classes, and lots of other amazing things in our community. So just wanted to acknowledge them. And if you're interested in any of their classes, you should check them out.
Thank you, Councillor Theodosis. Are there any other councillors with any important points to mention? No. I'll just also raise that last week I attended the Love Sydney Road street show. So this is where we were able to come together with quite a few traders and trader associations along the entire width of Sydney Road, a really important and crucial shopping and business district of Merri-bek. We hosted a forum at the Brunswick Town Hall where we had a panel of experts and interested traders who were able to engage and ask questions about how to improve their shop fronts, create more visibility, generate more business coming through. And I think the work of the Traders Association and the panel of experts was quite inspiring, and that's the core of really everything that Council does so well, is promote business activity along these major shopping strips, and it's really good to see how we're putting so much attention during a cost of living crisis to assist local traders and businesses reinvigorate their shops and help promote business growth within their individual businesses. The other point I wanted to mention was the opening of Blam Blam Place, which is a wonderful display of council continuing to support the arts within Merri-bek and create a space for people to come together to create, to draw, to do all those wonderful things associated with the arts, and through consecutive council decisions and the great stewardship of the executive team and the management, Council was able to construct a very beautiful and welcoming place that's going to be used for many years to come in various multi-purposes. So those are some incredible things that have really kicked off the year at Council. But let's move on to the remainder of the agenda. We've got petitions this evening, and we have our first petition, which is to install more street lights on White Street in Coburg. And in the gallery, we have tonight Adele Shelley, who is here to present her petition.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, councillors and everyone gathered here tonight. I'd also like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung lands and pay my respects to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders who may be here today. I'm here on behalf of myself and fellow concerned residents of White Street in Coburg to respectfully petition that Merri-bek Council increases the number of lights on our street for greater safety and security at night. Even though White Street has nearly 40 residences and is used by many people as it has the upfield bike path at one end and Anderson Reserve, which is a big dog park and playground area at the other, there are currently only 4 lamp posts placed on one side only of the long and very wide street. I know there are many streets where there can only be on one side, but it is particularly dark, and I really would urge anyone to have a look at how dark it is. And this year in particular, we've had lots of newcomers to our street, and they keep saying, we love this place, but why is it so dark at night, and why hasn't anyone done anything about it? So every single person that we were able to ask has signed the petition. So we've got 47 signatures, and there are some photos you can see to show that there are only 2 lamp posts at either end of the long street, and then 2 more placed on the street, one that gets obscured a lot by the beech trees. So even though there is that light, it's often not casting a lot of light. Yeah, we'd just really like to know if there's any possibility of installing more light for the residents and also the commuters and the dog walkers who use our street regularly.
Great.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor, is there a councillor who wishes to move the petition? Yes? Councillor Bolton.
Thank you so much.
And Councillor Svensson to second. All those in favour?
Thank you so
I
much.
declare that
Thank
carried.
you.
Thank you
very much.
And next we have Fahimi Dib. Please come forward. And Fahimi is in person tonight and presenting on improving parking conditions for residents of Walters Street in Brunswick.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me this evening, and thank you for this opportunity. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm here on behalf of the residents of Walter Street in Brunswick, and we do petition immediate consideration and action by Merri-bek City Council regarding the ongoing lack of adequate residential street parking on our street. In the recent months, in the last 3 to 6 months, we've found an influx of cars from non-residents parking at extended periods of time, so whether that be days or weeks, obviously resulting in a lack of parking opportunity for residents. As I said, we've noticed in the last few months an increased number of cars from surrounding areas taking up our car spots for extended periods of time, resulting in limited or no parking for residents. In particular, we have one resident who is legally blind and walks with a walker and requires assistance, and at times he cannot access his children's cars where they should be parked out the front, and is then required to walk quite long distances to get into his children's car or his carer's car. Also, at times I've had instances late at night where I have had to park a long distance away from my own home and walk in the late hours of the night to actually get to my home. As you can imagine, this is now a safety concern. What our key concerns are here is obviously the lack of parking availability, the safety issue, and the negative impact it's actually having on residents' life. And what we do request is that we respectfully request that the local council take the following actions to address the parking issues, and we're hoping that you will review the current parking situation on Walter Street, Brunswick, and we're hoping that you can introduce 2-hour parking zones for any visitor car parks and potentially have the rest of the parking areas permitted for residents. Thank you for your time. If anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you.
Thanks. Now, councillors, can I have a motion to move the petition? Councillor Iwasaki, seconded by Councillor Theodosis. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Thank you very much, Fee. Now, are there any... Oh, we have one more. Yeah. Oh, Ruth. Yeah. A petition from Ruth Sandy, keeping Bain Avenue safe for pedestrians. Hi, Ruth.
Can't hear Ruth.
Is it green? Yeah.
Thank you. Beg your pardon. My name's Ruth. I live in Merlinston, right next to the train station. Our street's a really weird shape. It's like goes like this. And I live on one of those corners. Because of the increasing people living in the area and also because of the new car park, there's been an increase in the number of people driving, often at breakneck speed, around that corner as they're late for the train. It's also at the same time when all the pedestrians are coming across from Fawkner, and my desk overlooks that street, and I look and with heart in my mouth as I see people walk from the corner of the L section diagonally across in a blind way, and then cars come around. My daughter was almost hit the other week when I mentioned this petition. She said, oh yeah, I was almost hit last week. She didn't even mention it was so common. So they have to leap back off the street as people come around. So our request from the local community, for those of us who, for those people, that we do some fixes, that we get some traffic calming happening. There could be potentially some speed humps, maybe fisheye cameras on those corners. I actually live on that corner, and every time I back in, I take my life into my hands. It's either take my life into my hands as I back in or as I back out. And the number of times that I've had to swerve across because I can't access my driveway because it's just people are getting faster, I think. So, yeah, possible speed hump, fisheye, and maybe even a continuation of the zebra crossing, which goes from the car park station. It goes across the little car park and it could continue across. I've even seen the coppers walk diagonally all the way down the street as they come from the cop station. So, yeah, I think that's about it. I've got about 240 signatures on change and 27 just walking around in an afternoon. I think about 150 locals within a weekend said, yep, that's a no-brainer.
Yep.
So thank you for hearing me.
Great. Thank you very much, Ruth. Now, councillors, are there any... Oh, sorry, that's correct. Yes. Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Second by Councillor Iwasaki. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Thanks very much, Ruth. Now, councillors, do we have any petitions to be tabled this evening that you may have received? No. If there's none, a foreshadowed petition? Yep, okay. We can raise that later towards the end of the meeting. Now, we'll move on to questions of council and community statements, and I'll explain how this segment will operate. The time provided for questions and statements is 30 minutes, and this time can only be extended by another 30 minutes by resolution of council. If we don't have time to answer your question, it will be taken on notice and responded to in writing. Priority will be given to questions and statements that relate to matters listed in the agenda. If time allows, questions about items other than those listed on the agenda will be considered. There's a maximum of 2 questions or statements in any combination per person, and questions or statements that relate to a matter listed in the agenda will be dealt with first. If you have registered to ask a question when I invite you or your representative, please state your name and suburb and then your question with a preamble or background for up to 3 minutes. If you have registered to make a statement, please also state your name and suburb and then make your statement without taking longer than 3 minutes. If you've submitted a second question or indicated you have a second statement, it may be at my discretion to be deferred until all other persons have submitted questions and have asked their question first, or not be asked if time does not permit. There's a maximum of 3 questions will be heard on any one subject, and then we'll proceed to the next topic. If time allows, we'll return to the previous topic. I will either answer the questions on behalf of Council or invite another councillor to answer. Alternatively, I'll ask the Chief Executive Officer to provide a response or refer it to a Council officer. There'll be no response or discussion in relation to community statements. As detailed in the governance rules, questions or statements may be disallowed if they are defamatory, indecent, abusive, offensive, irrelevant, trivial, or objectionable in language or substance. If a response to your question is provided at tonight's meeting, there will be no further formal response. However, Council will action any commitments made while answering that question. So Council, we've received a total of 8 questions tonight. All submitters were invited to attend to ask their questions. So we'll now move on to our first question with the time commencing at 6:54. And we have Peter Jeffs, who is online with 1 question. Hi, Peter.
Hi, how are you?
Go ahead, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead, Peter.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
The motion proposing the painting of LGBTQIA+ flags in 2 places in Merri-bek was simply an idea of one councillor put to its meeting on February the 12th, 2025, and it never went out for community consultation. The officer report tonight for consideration recommends that the proposal goes out for community engagement via various forums so that the community can vote on their preferred sites. As there is no mention in the recommendation to allow the community to vote against the proposal, will Council now include this as an option in the consultation?
Thank you, Peter. I'll refer to our Director to take your question.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, thank you, Peter, for your question. This is a matter for Council to determine. The resolution from February 2025 includes a number of points, and one of those points is that Council seeks a report by April 2025 that identifies suitable locations on Council roads or footpaths with the aim of installing this design on 2 roads or footpaths, and recommends an approach to community engagement to select the sites and final designs. If the Council adopts the recommendation tonight, the engagement will not be seeking feedback as to whether the community support the proposal, just the preferred location of the treatments. Council will determine whether to fund them as part of the 25-26 budget process.
Thank you very much, Anita. The second question is from Lara Kaur, who is also online. And we'll just bring up Lara to ask. It's a statement. Ask her statement, or put forward her statement, sorry. Hi, Lara.
Hello, how are you going?
Good, thanks. Please go ahead. Oh, hang on. We'll just get Lara back. Hi, Lara.
Okay, hello.
Hi, please go ahead.
Thanks for having me. Hi, my name is Dr. Lara Kaur and I live in Brunswick. I've lived in several suburbs around Merri-bek for the last 15 or so years. And what I love about Merri-bek are the parks and the friendly, diverse community, and things are always changing and evolving. The first time I went into a workplace with rainbow flags around the office, my whole body relaxed. At the time, I hadn't put the dots together to know that I was queer, but my body knew. If nothing else, I thought, these people are nice. They care about LGBTQ+ people, being comfortable and feeling safe. And I thought, well, that's just a good indication of people that care. Rainbow crossings aren't just beautiful splashes of colour in our neighbourhood for everyone to enjoy, although I can definitely see my daughter and her friends enjoying it. They send a message to the LGBTQ plus community that says, we see you, we care about you, you belong here, you are welcome, you are safe. And what makes me actually emotional saying it, and I didn't expect this, is we will protect you. These symbols, oh, I'm really surprised I'm emotional. And I guess it just shows how important it is.
Yeah, you're doing well.
These symbols are mental health promoting. My background is in research in mental health. I was an academic in that area for a long time and encourage community safety. Symbols like rainbow crossings, they matter to LGBTQ plus communities and adults, even those like me that don't look stereotypically queer. And people that face much greater discrimination. They matter deeply to children and to teens, to people who need to know that their community cares, even when they are rejected at home by their parents and their families. And it matters to older LGBTQ plus community members who fought their whole lives to live authentically and have faced horrendous discrimination, like my neighbours in the adjoining wall, who have been together for more than 30 years and got married when marriage inequality came in. If you're not queer, you can enjoy the rainbow. It represents one of the most beautiful, spontaneous features of nature that we have, that everyone delights in. And if you are queer or think you might be, it's a hug in the form of a rainbow crossing. Thank you, everyone, Mayor and councillors, for taking the time to listen to the needs of the community. You can see that these things matter, and I'm so surprised at how moved I am talking about it. I knew it was important, but just talking about it's really made me feel it even more. So we know that this is a beautiful council, a welcoming community, and that this action really just affirms your commitment to inclusivity and respect, and I'm really grateful for that.
Thank you, Lara. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to Coburg North Sports Hub, and we have a question from Kate Hall, who is here in person. Hi, Kate. Yes, it's meant to be green. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors, CEO and team. I'm Kate Hall from Coburg North, and I'm here on behalf of Friends of Coburg Olympic Pool and speaking to the Coburg North Sports Hub. First up, we would like to thank Lucio and relevant council people for doing such a fantastic job on a very complex and difficult project. We also thank the federal government for funding the master plan. This plan responds to the much-loved natural environment by placing that as the #1 priority, as did the community in the consultation. The plan also respects the heritage value of the site. Council's own heritage experts in their place citation report in 2013 cited the pool as significant for its picturesque setting, for its use as a public pool, and the entry building as a dramatic and notable example of modernist design. The plan respects all of these heritage aspects. The pool group also wants to thank the community who showed up for the pool in 2008 when we campaigned for it to be reopened, including 520 attending a midwinter event and plenty coming to our pool party in this very foyer. Can't believe we did it now. The community showed up in 2018 when Council's current aquatic strategy was being developed. The most submissions by far were regarding the Coburg Olympic Pool, with most being calling for it to be heated. Sadly, this was not reflected in the strategy, which stated the pool was at the end of its life, but included no plan for it over the 10 years. The community showed up again for the pool during the consultation for this plan. 441 online community surveys, 361 interactive map comments, with the pool getting the most love, is impressive engagement. We also note the high engagement for basketball. This seems to be, we assume it's an acknowledgement that basketball has outgrown the area and needs a purpose-built facility, and that traffic, already a huge problem, precluded it being included at this site. The Friends group unanimously endorses the draft concept plan. We are all very impressed. We are excited that the heated year-round outdoor pool and better utilised site that we have called for many years is within reach. 60% of visits of the hub area are to the pool, even though it's only open a few months. How good would it be if the pool was open in the warm school holiday weather coming up? There was also a pleasant surprise among us that the local community was so clearly heard and considered. We think it was a real plus that the consultation was carried out independently. In the neighbourhood WhatsApp group, which covers the 4 streets nearest the hub, the most common response was, "Love it." Unfortunately, it's a given that council and state government are unlikely to be in a position to fund this plan. So my question is, how can council and community work together on joint advocacy to secure external funding for this important project?
Thank you, Kate. I'll now turn to the responsible director, Eamon, to take your question.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. Kate, thank you very much for your statement, and just thank you on behalf of all of us for the great engagement and collaboration in getting the master plan developed. It's much appreciated. As you've stated, this master plan has some short-term aspirations and also some longer-term, really big aspirations, including the works around Coburg Olympic Pool. And that really will require other levels of government to come to the table and to collaborate with council and the community. So I think in terms of your question, that could be a long game, to be honest. So the master plan has a 2050 sort of vision, but we will continue to work closely with the community in our advocacy efforts, and we do that each and every day here at council, building strong advocacy into different levels of government and partnerships with those levels of government to enable projects, but particularly big community infrastructure projects. So we'll continue to work with you on that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Kat. Our next statement is from Dean Patch, who is in person, and that's in relation to McDonald Reserve feasibility study.
My name is Dean Patch. I live in North Fitzroy. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to stand here today on behalf of the Brunswick Hockey Club and thank the Merri-bek Council, its officers, particularly Chrissy and Bernadette, and all the incredible stakeholders who've come together to make the new hockey pitch proposal at McDonald Reserve a reality. This project has been 6 years in the making, and from the very beginning, our guiding principle was clear: to maximise the benefit for the whole community, not just for hockey, not just one group, but for everyone who will use the facility. We didn't want to build a gilded cage for old men. We wanted something open, inclusive, and lasting. And I think we've done just that, just in time. The club's growing very fast. We've already added 3 new adult teams this year, and we're hopeful to add more junior teams. And we'll absolutely fill this facility when it's built, hopefully by this time next year. So thanks to a careful collaboration and genuine goodwill, this isn't just a win for hockey. Neighbours keep their open space that they value. Coburg High will gain an all-weather facility for school day use and improved grounds. Cricket has found a new home. Tennis will share a pavilion and has a clear path to its needed redevelopment. Soccer retains its training space. Everyone gave a little bit, and in doing so, we've created something bigger than the sum of the parts. We judge the success of the hockey club, our 550 members, our 38 teams, not by what happens on the ground, but what we contribute off it. There's thousands of hours of joy that we provide for local school kids in free clinics. We look after our diverse players and our international students. We believe in sport not just for competition, but for connection, for well-being, and for community. So this project for me is a model of what community building can look like, balancing different needs, different voices, and coming together. Not without challenge, but with a mutual respect and a shared belief in what's possible. I'm sure there will be bumps along the way to getting this built. We'll sort out the parking, but the goodwill that's brought us here will carry us forward. The Brunswick Hockey Club has been around for 103 years, and I hope that in another 103, people will look back on this moment as one that secured the club's future, not just as a sporting organisation, but as a vital and inclusive part of this community. As the old proverb said, society grows great when we plant trees under whose shade we do not expect to sit. This pitch is one such tree, and the Merri-bek Council should be very proud that it's facilitated. So thank you kindly, and we look forward to welcoming you to our first match at the new pitch, hopefully next year.
We look forward to being there. Thanks, Dean.
Cheers.
One of my favourite quotes.
Thanks, very kind.
Next, we have a question from John Englert, who is online with us this evening, and this is also in relation to McDonald Reserve feasibility study. Oh, he's not online. Okay, unfortunately, John is not online. We may be able to return to that if he does come online later on. Next, we have a question in relation to the third quarter financial report, and this is from Mia De Brucker. Unfortunately, John is not on. Hi, Mia.
Hi, good evening to the Council. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Mia De Brucker and I am a local resident in Pascoe Vale South. So my question relates to the 40-kilometre speed change for the Coonans Road area. This is the road that the Pascoe Vale South Primary School's side and back entrances lead out onto. It's my understanding that this speed change has already been approved at a state government level in accordance with recommendations from the Department of Transport, their guidelines around safety and proximity to schools. It's also a change that over 230 local residents have shown support for in an online petition, and also local business owners on the Coonans Road area. So this is going to be a change that would align with this council's Safe Streets initiative that I've been hearing about, and the state government's 20-minute neighbourhoods plan. So the question that I have is, can we confirm for the record that this change has indeed been approved at a state government level? What would be the timeline for seeing the change come into effect on the street? Is there a specific process that is being followed that we could know about? If there are any blockers in the way of seeing this happen, we would just love to hear about that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mia. I'll hand over to our Director, Anita, for City Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mayor. Mia, thank you for your question, and I have good news for you. So the speed zone has certainly been approved by the state government, and the 40-kilometre-per-hour school speed zone limit will be installed between the 9th of April, which is today. I'm guessing it didn't go in today, so let's say the 10th of April and the 21st of April. So letters to inform the community of the speed limit change and the installation dates have recently gone out to properties in and near the new 40-kilometre-per-hour school zone area on Coonans Road.
That's fantastic news. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Mia.
Thank you.
Now, we'll just check if John Englert is back. He has another question in relation to the upgrade electrical capacity at Hadfield Operations Centre, as well as his previous question. We'll see if we can bring him back, or if he is online. Oh, he's not online. No. Okay. Now, we have our non-agenda questions. We have Anne Brantz, who is in person and wants to make a question in relation to making school streets a reality for Merri-bek. Is Anne coming forward? Yes.
Hello, good evening. My name is Johannes Bruns. I'm from Brunswick, and I'm here on behalf of the Brunswick North Primary School community to talk to you about school streets. Across the United Kingdom and beyond, school streets have successfully boosted active transport, improving health, safety, and community well-being. And now the Brunswick North Primary School, or BNPS community, is calling on Merri-bek Council to take action and implement daily school streets this year for BNPS. Why school streets? They are a proven success overseas. By closing streets near schools just at drop-off and pick-up times, school streets encourage walking and cycling, reducing childhood obesity and fostering independence and social interaction for children. Numerous UK councils, including those in major cities like London, Birmingham, Leeds and Manchester, have already embraced them at over 1,000 schools, mostly primary schools. School streets can be a win for everyone. It can be a win for the BNPS students, allowing them to walk and ride safely to school, improving health, social connections and learning. It can be a win for the parents, who showed a very strong support for school streets. An estimated half of all the school families signed a recent petition calling on the council to run a 6-month trial. I received over 150 signatures from the BNPS parents and a total of more than 300 signatures. They can also be a win for nearby residents, as school streets reduce issues around illegal, inconsiderate and very dangerous parking in their street. Yes, typically by parents. They can be a win for the community, reducing unnecessary school runs and easing local congestion, which is a major issue in Brunswick. And finally, it can be a win for Merri-bek Council, which will have the opportunity to deliver Australia's very first school street and pave the way for an expansion in 2026. And I believe that can all be done at a minimum cost by reallocating the existing school crossing supervisors.
Thank you, Anne.
So my request on behalf of the BNPS community, will you commit to a 6-month school street trial in 2025, closing parts of Pearson, Albion and Westman Street, those parts adjacent to the school grounds, on school days, only during drop-off and pick-up times. The BNPS community is ready, and now we need Merri-bek Council to lead the way. Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Anne. I'll hand over to our director, Anita, to respond.
Thank you, Mayor, and Anne, nice to meet you, and thank you for your question. Our Ride and Stride program has pioneered open streets, which is often also referred to as school streets in other countries, in Australia. And we were the first council in the country to deliver this program. We have run open streets at 10 local primary schools since 2021. 5 of these schools, including Brunswick North Primary, have progressed to our innovative volunteer-led Open Streets program, allowing trained parent volunteers to run monthly or termly open streets supported by council officers. Now, we know that over 65% of Brunswick North Primary School families walk or ride, and we are committed to delivering safer streets near our Ride and Stride schools. We have proposed capital funding from next financial year to design and deliver safe and innovative infrastructure solutions near these Ride and Stride schools. Recently, officers completed a workshop with the TAC in this very room to design school zone improvements outside Brunswick North Primary School, was the case study that we chose, on Albion, Westbourne and Pearson Streets. Exploring avenues to limit traffic during school drop-off and pick-up times, along with safer speeds and better crossing points, were investigated. These concepts are proposed to feed into capital projects for the Ride and Stride schools across Merri-bek. Your suggestion to close parts of streets every school day for 6 months to create open streets is a great idea. However, it's not possible for council to resource this. Our school crossing supervisors are part funded by the state, and we agree to resource eligible school crossings, so we can't divert those resources. We do understand the desire of a majority of parents at Brunswick North Primary to see improved safety outcomes and active transport amenity near the school, and we will keep school parents and local residents informed, and we will also provide opportunity for feedback as we progress.
I do think it's important to clarify that school streets, which is in the UK called play streets, is actually quite a different concept to school streets. Many schools, over these 1,000 schools that have school streets, also sometimes still do play streets.
Yeah.
The objective of play streets is for children to be able to play in the street, right? They draw with chalk,
Understand. And I
etc.
think
School
perhaps
streets are purely focused on allowing children to safely get to school.
I understand. Perhaps instead of having a backwards and forwards discussion, we can take it offline. If you've got other questions or want to add further points.
Yeah, no, I think that's the main thing I want to give the team
Yeah.
is that they're very different concepts. So yeah, please don't think that one concept replaces the other.
Thank you. Yep. Thanks, Anne. Appreciate your attendance tonight.
Yeah, I look forward to a more formal reply. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We have another question from Wendy Hong from Coburg. Wendy?
Hello all, thank you for your time tonight. This is the first time I've ever been to a council meeting, and what has prompted me to come here is that I'm a dog walker down at Tate and Egan Reserve near the Merri Creek and have been for 20 years. It is a very important social connection and dog connection space. At the moment, the council is considering it as part of a pilot program under the Open Space project. Under the Open Space project, they are considering changing or maintaining Tate Reserve as an on-leash area. Tate Reserve has practiced, and the people at Tate Reserve have practiced off-leash for many, many, many years, with no council signage to say otherwise and no monitoring. Hence this informal practice of walking dogs off-leash in Tate Reserve has become a norm. And we appreciate that we can walk our dogs along the Merri Creek, through Egan Reserve and Tate Reserve, Egan being officially off-leash. So with the Open Space project and the call for community consultation, we and our other community of dog walkers in the area have been very enthusiastic to contribute. I noticed a lack of signage and notified Richard Tolliday and other members on the Open Space project to put some signage on the Harding Street Bridge, because many people come from the eastern side across to use that. That was on the 31st of March. Richard kindly said he would, and he would add some stickers also to advertise the face-to-face session, which will be held on the 22nd of April. Neither of those things have occurred, and here we are, a week, 10 days later. Currently, the community, being very active and wanting to support the consultation to council, which has been requested, have been giving out leaflets to the community so that they will have their say in the questionnaires and in emails to councillors as council have requested. We spend an hour a day and approximately 20 leaflets an hour go out to people who want to provide feedback but didn't realise how to. So we know that people are keen to have their opinions heard. I also want to bring it to the attention that other feedback say that the questionnaire is kind of loaded if you just do the yes/no boxes, and that they are making the most of free text boxes to share their opinions with council.
Wendy,
So
can I
my
get you to
questions
what-
are, when will council erect more signage and stickers? What methodology will be used to ensure that all feedback, including the free text and letters, is considered? And will this be published and available to our community? How will the community consultation inform the project team who are looking after the review of the Council's Domestic Animal Management Plan and local law expected to occur later this year. And finally, will current off-leash dog walking practices in Tate Reserve be respected during the period of consultation rather than enforcing outdated regulations and fining people?
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank
I'll
you very
hand over
much.
to the Director to respond.
Thank you, Mayor. Wendy, thank you for your question. There's a lot in your question, so I'll address the bits I can. I don't have the full text of your question in front of me. But the consultation, as you say, is underway. There will be a drop-in session at Tate Reserve on the 22nd of April. So I do encourage you and others to come along to that session and talk to officers. We are very keen to hear from the community during this consultation about the specific locations that we've identified in the consultation. And so, we understand that this reserve is used by many with their dogs off leash, even though it is an on-lead area. And in relation to the signage question, we have been repeatedly putting up signs and they keep disappearing, is the unfortunate case.
Do I have a right of reply, Helen?
Unfortunately, we can take the conversation offline and we can arrange to communicate via email, just so there's no discussion going backwards and forwards.
And I would do that to Ms. Curnow, that email?
Yes, or to myself and or to Anita. That's right.
Yeah, I will.
I think that's a good idea, yeah. Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate you coming this evening.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, we have come to the end of question time. As our 30 minutes is up, any other questions will be taken on notice and responded to in writing. We'll take your question on notice. I can see you in the gallery, Romeo. We'll now move on to the council reports, and we have the Draft Integrated Water Management Action Plan 2025 to 2030 Community Consultation. Is there a councillor who wishes to move this report? Councillor Irvin, and a seconder, Councillor Bolton. Councillor Irvin, do you wish to speak to this report?
Yes, as Melburnians, we do have a very special relationship with water. It mainly stems from knowing you have to pack an umbrella or a raincoat whenever you go out, but it also impacts us in many other ways. As we hear from the community, the places along the creeks in our municipality are really special for a range of purposes, and there are so many aspects that impact our lives, such as flooding, heavy downpour events, that sort of thing. So this integrated water management plan is really looking to the future of how we manage water in our council area. And this is taking this to consultation, so we're really looking for feedback on these proposals. And it's really great to read this report and see the amazing work that's been done to date and the really incredible projects that have been delivered. The Mayor and I actually attended the reopening of the section of Moonee Ponds Creek the other weekend that formed part of the previous action plan for our integrated water management. So this document sets out our new action plan, and I would encourage everyone in the community to have a look and respond, give your feedback and input, and I'm really excited to see the next tranche of projects being delivered.
Great, thanks very much, Councillor Irvin. Councillor Bolton?
This integrated water management plan has been going for 5 years, so this is a review. There have been quite a wide range of different sorts of projects which have been implemented, from stormwater harvesting to creation of wetlands at Moomba Park and other places as well. And I think in this updated water management plan, it's hoped to address some of the gaps that existed with the previous 5-year plan. So I think this is really very, very important to address both the questions of drought which will especially affect our parks and street trees and sporting fields, but also the questions of flooding and so forth as well. So anyway, I think this is really important to support.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Are there any further councillors who wish to speak in relation to this item? No. If there's no further councillors, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. We'll now move on to our second report, 7.2, Rainbow Crossing Site for Consultation. Is there a councillor who wishes to move? Councillor Svensson, and a councillor to second the motion? Councillor Miles. Councillor Svensson.
And I'd like to move the amended report that's been circulated around to everybody.
Yeah.
Would you like me to introduce the amendments before I jump into my speaking time?
Yes, I think that would be worthwhile, and we'll pull that up on the screen as well.
So this is a amended report. It includes, so the amendments include information that will be provided during the consultation about any potential environmental impact that the surfaces used in creating the crossings might have. It includes that we will explicitly consider the needs of vision impaired people in the design of the rainbow crossings. And it also includes further information about cost transparency to be included in the consultation to highlight there are 3 particular sites where there is a potential where the cost could increase, and for that to be very explicitly stated within the consultation itself.
Thank you very much, Councillor Svensson. Councillor Svensson, do you wish to speak to the report?
Yes, I'd like to speak. Thank you. I am so happy to see this report coming back to the Chamber with a plan to go out for community consultations so that residents can have a say in where and how these rainbow crossings are installed. When I first introduced the original motion for this project, I outlined the fantastic benefits these crossings will have, from providing a tangible sign of support to our LGBTIQA+ community to revitalising our streetscapes. But I don't think I could summarise the benefits of rainbow crossings any more powerfully than Lara did in their statement earlier today. Involving the community in our decision-making is an absolutely essential part of upholding local democracy and ensuring good decision-making. By taking these potential locations out to the community for consultation, we ensure that residents' voices are heard so that we can get the best possible outcome. For example, everybody in this council agrees that we need to be responsible with taxpayer money, especially during a cost of living crisis. To support this, Councillor Chris Miles, Mayor Helen Davidson and I worked on an amendment to this report together, ensuring residents will be provided with transparent information about potential costs to implement the project so that they can make an informed decision about each location's pros and cons. I'm incredibly proud that my initial motion to kick off this project received near unanimous support from the councillors in this chamber, showing our willingness to work together to support our queer community. I do know, though, that there's been a lot of misinformation in the media recently about queer people, and I want to dispel some of these concerns. To those people who oppose projects like this, saying that there's no need for queer-specific supports anymore and that queerphobia is a thing of the past, I say, have you been paying attention? Just over the last couple of weeks, we've seen disgusting transphobic flyers dropped into letterboxes all around Merri-bek. We've seen similarly transphobic advertising on the front of major newspapers. Just this year, we saw the Queensland government roll back rights for gender diverse kids to access life-saving healthcare. 60% of young queer Australians say that they felt unsafe at school because of who they are. If you happen to be born a gender diverse person in Australia, you're twice as likely to experience suicidal thoughts as a cisgender person. You're almost 3 times as likely to experience mental ill health and significantly more likely to experience sexual harassment and violence. Even just proposing this project itself has resulted in harassment and threats towards myself and other councillors. This only proves the point that we may have made progress on LGBTQIA+ rights, but there is sadly a long way to go. Need I go on? Queer people and their lives are too often used as a convenient political football, and I'm proud that Merri-bek has a strong history of calling this out. And on the topic of football, yesterday I read an article in Sky News about this very motion and argued that queer people shouldn't get their flag painted at a crossing because, well, Carlton footy supporters aren't getting one. And I'll tell you, I was a bit confused because I, for one, have never heard of someone being terrified to come out as a Carlton supporter. I thought that was just for Collingwood supporters. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Miles. Okay. Are there any speakers against? Councillor Yildiz.
Got 2 minutes. So, look, I just want to begin by saying that I want to be crystal clear, absolutely crystal clear. I support inclusion, equality and the LGBTQI community. What I don't support is the misallocation of ratepayer funds on a symbolic gesture that, while it's well-intentioned, come at a significant financial cost without providing direct support to those who actually need it the most. Here are a couple of my arguments. We're looking at $45,000 to paint 2 rainbow flag crossings. That's not a small amount. It's money that could instead go directly to organisations making a real measurable difference in the lives of LGBTQIA+ youth and adults. Groups like Minus 18, who are a charity, the Pride Centre and Switchboard provide counselling, resources, outreach and safety. Let's fund them, not a road. Symbols are important, but they are not enough. A rainbow crossing is a gesture. Direct funding to support services is actually real action. If we truly want to support the LGBTQIA+ community, we should be advocating for real, ongoing investment in mental health, youth outreach, housing security and education initiatives. This kind of public awareness initiatives, especially ones of this scale, should be backed by the state and federal governments, who have the budgets and infrastructure to support it properly. Local councils should not be footing the bill for what should be part of a broader, coordinated statewide or nation action inclusion strategy. As councillors, we have a duty to use ratepayer money wisely, responsibly and fairly. Many residents are doing it tough, facing rising living costs. They want to see their money going into services such as roads, parks, safety, not painting on a road. Lastly, let's support the LGBTQI+ community the right way. Let's advocate to the state and federal governments to step up. Let's channel our limited local resources into direct, tangible support services. And let's not confuse a colourful crossing with real lasting impact. I just want to finish up by saying that I want to apologise to anybody who may have taken my comments regarding the Carlton flag and the comparison. I do apologise. It has upset a few people, and happy to take it on the chin and say, for those that have taken that out of context or have taken offence to that, I apologise.
Councillor Aboud.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, well, I think now's a good time for me to come out as an out and proud Carlton supporter. Carlton aren't getting a flag because Carlton can only play 3/4 of the game, but that's okay because they're going to get better. And you know what they do is they have an orange round. And during the orange round, they fly a colour, and they fly the colour orange. And they do that because people, women specifically, feel supported during that round. And I think that that kind of stuff on a very local level is quite important. And when I was campaigning, I was asked to sign a pledge. It was called a Rainbow Pledge, and I did sign that pledge because I know that our community is one community proudly diverse, and I was pleased to be able to note Councillor Svensson's bravery at bringing this forward as one of the first motions that she brought into the chamber, and I was surprised that it wasn't unanimously supported and that only one councillor abstained from voting to support it. But the point is, it was very close to unanimously supported, and now we're back at the next stage of this consultation. I think it's interesting to consider money and how we spend money in the council, and there's a couple of things that I'll talk to you later in this meeting that are the result of me reconsidering how money is spent that I'm involved in choosing to spend. And this is one of those things that I do think money is worth spending on. I think it's important for us to realise that if you're not queer, this won't hurt you. it's you can't catch being queer. It's not a thing. You know, when my mum and dad broke up, my mum spent a lot of time hanging around with a bunch of lesbians watching Rocky Horror Picture Show on a regular basis, and I'm not gay and I'm not queer. It's fine. I was fine. I'm fine. My concern is for the people who are being affected in a negative way by this motion, and it's going to encourage me as a cis white breeder, privileged as you can get, that I will keep being an ally to the queer community. It is devastating that discrimination happens anywhere, but especially because of your identity. It's awful. And, you know, some of us are going to keep supporting you, so hang in there.
Thank you, Councillor Aboud. Councillor Bolton.
This is only 2 streets or only 2 locations. It's not really that much. And I think the scandalising of this motion is designed, the scandalising of it was designed to create hate towards this community. And at the moment, there is in particular the trans and intersex part of the LGBTIQA+ is the part of the rainbow community or queer community that it is most targeted. And so there are lots of politicians, of radio shock jocks that are trying to belittle and even question the existence, denying the existence of the people. And these are real living, breathing human beings, although unfortunately too many take their lives because of the discrimination they face. So, and council, there's all sorts of things that council has done in the past, which I've supported, some things I haven't supported, some things I have supported. Council's contributed to questions of raising the issue of violence against women, especially after Jill Meagher was murdered in 2012. Council's been involved in all sorts of projects around the anniversary of the First World War, the 100th anniversary of the First World War, all sorts of things. And this is just probably some other projects council's invested in have cost a lot more money than this $45,000. And this is an important example of solidarity with a community that's being really targeted and told they don't exist or shouldn't exist. And that is a horrendous thing for any particular community. So it is an important gesture of solidarity. And, in the 60s and 70s, people campaigned for recognition of migrant community. Like over the years, over the decades, there have been campaigns to recognise different parts of the community which actually do exist, but are told that they don't exist by some particular reactionary politicians or radio shock jocks or whatever. So I definitely support this motion. I think it's not an extreme motion. It is just a very simple gesture of solidarity. This doesn't mean we're not campaigning for more funding for mental health and all sorts of other services. We need to do that as well. And I, for one, am involved in supporting those campaigns and especially calling for public housing to be, which would actually really help the trans and queer communities as well as everybody in society. So, the two things are not contradictory.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Councillor Pulford.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really disappointed that I enter another council meeting with a positive item for the LGBTIQA+ community on the agenda, with a sour taste in my mouth and a feeling that I should have to look over my shoulder or look behind me as I walk into the chamber and walk out of the chamber. We saw how meaningful acts of celebrating our diversity and inclusion are just early this evening when Lara, one of our local residents, spoke to the item and was so emotional about how important this would be to her she could barely speak. But here tonight we have a councillor stirring up division and anger over queer issues once again. The councillor says it's not because it's about LGBTIQA+ issues, it's about cost. But if you look at the pattern of behaviour, this councillor has regularly gone to the media to stir up community dissent over queer issues, including opposing the colourful and joyful drag story time events last year.
Sorry, Councillor Yildiz?
What's the point of order? Can you name it? I'm debating the item. It's the same councillor who went on radio in the last term of council to accuse me of having a conflict of interest on a rainbow flag motion because I'm gay. This pattern of behaviour indicates it's not about cost, it's about something else. This councillor is happy to sign the Rainbow Pledge and say he'll support LGBTIQA+ people when he wants our votes, but then when he's in a position to honour this pledge, he breaks it and goes on radio to spread division.
Point of order, if this councillor's going to attack you with lies, because I don't know what
It's all factual.
that's a lie. So you provide the evidence on that, because I'll be asking for that.
You can look up your previous radio interviews. We're a proudly diverse community here in Merri-bek, and this motion should be celebrating that. I'm proud to support this motion tonight, and I'm proud that, to know that pretty much every councillor in this room will back this motion. I'm sorry to our community members that we have this duplicitousness in one of our councillors, but I hope that we celebrate this motion being passed this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Pulford. Councillor Iwasaki.
I'll just say something briefly. If you go to the website rainbowvotes.com.au and look at the Rainbow Pledge, one of the pledges is to install a rainbow crossing or maintain an existing one. If you look at the signatories of this pledge, Oscar Yildiz is one of those. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki. Are you wanting to close the debate?
Yes, I'm wanting to have my right of reply.
Right of reply, yep. I'll just go and see if there's any other councillors who wish to speak. Are there any other councillors who wish to speak? You can choose to speak. Okay. Yep. Okay. I'll say a few words and then we'll turn to Councillor Svensson to use her right of reply at the end. I'd like to speak to this motion, and given the fact that this has been in the news recently due to a radio interview and then subsequently picked up in news reports, I wanted to express my initial support for this motion. Creating visible support for inclusion in the community is important. I do hold concerns in relation to the cost, and I feel that the amendments which point to transparency within the community regarding cost alleviate those concerns, and it's going out for consultation. I think there's two very important responsibilities of council. The first is to ensure that our dollars spent deliver value, and the second is to make sure it doesn't come at the expense of vital community services. Now, I'll put this to the side for a minute because I just want to speak quite openly about something that happened just last night and this morning, following the radio interview and social media articles on the topic. I received 2 phone calls from a person who threatened me, was highly aggressive and abusive. They swore at me and they threatened me, saying they would make sure I don't vote on this motion. This person said his name was Paul. So Paul, if you're out there, if you're in the gallery, I hope you're listening. Now, I'm not part of the LGBTIQA+ community, and initially I didn't really appreciate the extent of hate and the threatening behaviour out there that this community continues to face. But this was pretty eye-opening for me. If this is the kind of intimidation being directed at me simply for considering supporting a motion like this, then I can't imagine the courage it takes for members of this community to be visible in public spaces. Now, that's why it's meaningful. I've sought further clarification on the total cost and reviewed the proposed locations. And I note that some may require additional upgrades such as lighting and road safety audits, which is why this transparency in relation to costs is really important. And I would prefer us to focus on a smaller number of sites, but I understand that having the ones recommended in the officer report are important to go out. In summary, I support this motion, and I think that we will be showing financial diligence in consideration of the locations, and by doing so, we are acting in accordance with our responsibilities as councillor. And I just want to finish back on the note that this is meaningful and it doesn't come at the expense of other vital community services. It simply doesn't. Now, I'd like to hand over to Councillor Svensson to close the debate.
Thank you, Mayor. As I said before, every single person in this room cares about being responsible with our budget and taxpayer money. But I'm really saddened to see support for LGBTIQA+ people being singled out when this project represents less than 0.02% of our yearly budget. To put it into perspective, that's less than the amount we spend on Christmas decorations every single year. As I pointed out when I moved this original motion, the project aligns with key targets in Merri-bek's LGBTIQA+ action plan by increasing visible signs of support for our queer community. But this plan means nothing if we don't put the money and resources behind it so that we can make actual, tangible change for our community. I agree that symbols on their own aren't enough, but Rainbow Crossings wouldn't be the first project supporting the queer community that Merri-bek has delivered, and it won't be the last. My colleagues and I will continue the fight for investments in projects that create real, long-lasting change. I am a queer psychologist who's worked with some of the organisations Councillor Yildiz mentioned and suggested need further funding. Funding these isn't an either-or. Governments can and should fund both. I also want to reiterate how interesting it is that Councillor Yildiz has chosen to speak against this motion when you consider that, as pointed out by others, he signed a pledge, the Rainbow Local Government Pledge, which specifically pledged support for installation of rainbow crossings. I thought you might find that interesting too. Honesty and integrity are incredibly important to me, and I think it's essential that we hold each other to account. Support for queer people should not and must not end at election time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Svensson. I'll now put the item to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Yep, we'll get a division. All those in favour, we have Councillor Theodosis, Councillor Svensson, Councillor Pulford, Councillor Davidson, Councillor Miles, Councillor Iwasaki, Councillor Irvin, and Councillor Bolton, and Councillor Aboud. All those against? Councillor Yildiz. We'll now move on to 7.3, the hang on, is that? Yep. 7.3, Coburg North Sports Hub Master Plan. Is there a councillor who wishes to move this? Councillor Aboud, I can see, has her hand up to move, and Councillor Bolton to second.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's an amended version with an extra 0.3 added, which means there are now 5 points to the motion.
We'll just bring
So,
that up.
Councillor Bolton, have you seen that extra 0.3, just as a seconder?
I thought I saw it earlier, then I couldn't find it, but I can see it now. It's straightforward. All good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for seconding this, Councillor Bolton. I just made that amendment, which is what I'll talk to, because when I read the report, I noticed that 48% of the respondents basically came to that master plan conversation because of basketball, and that basketball is in the top 3 reasons why people visit that neighbourhood, and it's also the pool is in the top 3 reasons why people visit that neighbourhood. So